Makoto Misumi has some very interesting individuals serving under him, each with their own unique personalities and role in the overall series. So now that I have already covered Tomoe and Mio, let's continue the tsukimichi moonlit fantasy character breakdown with Shiki, the third person to join Makoto. And similar to my previous videos, I'll be covering aspects such as Shiki's backstory, powers and abilities, along with some of his notable character traits. As usual, here's a spoiler warning for Tsukimichi, and if you enjoyed my breakdown, feel free to like, subscribe and share the video with your friends. To start, who is Shiki Misumi and what is the origin of his character? While it was never explicitly revealed in the series who he was and how he became a Lich, but if we simply take a look at how this specific archetype is portrayed in other fantasy media like say Dungeons & Dragons, it's actually easy to speculate on his exact origins. So to explain, in D&D, Liches are commonly regarded as evil magic users that in their pursuit for knowledge and power, chose to willingly abandon their own humanity in exchange for immortality, usually through the use of dark rituals or forbidden magic, but there are extremely rare cases where you can simply awaken as one just by having deep regrets and strong willpower. In the case of Shiki, before he became a Lich, he had learned about the concept of grants, which is a term used in Tsukimichi to refer to other worlders or people who have the ability to travel between worlds, so wanting to uncover the secrets behind this, he would spend his entire life researching on the subject, and I'm guessing he realized that his mortal lifespan wasn't enough, so he ultimately resorted to transforming himself into a Lich as a means to prolong his time. At least that's my own theory. Nonetheless, having attained immortality, Shiki would detach himself from all mortal concerns and emotions, mostly spending his time to conduct research on grants, but also gathering every piece of information that is in the goddess's world about magical theories, artifacts and literature to expand his own knowledge. It was for this reason why he doesn't have any notable points in history to mention, although there were a few rare occasions where he did work with the Demon King army simply because their interests aligned, and it's unknown what happened during his partnership with the demon race because he seems to have developed a rather distrustful and dislike of them. The demon general Rona in particular was someone he held a level of contempt towards. On a side note, likely a subsequent result of turning into an undead, Shiki had developed a rather cold and somewhat sadistic personality over time, because apart from simple research, he often carried out ethically questionable experimentations, such as dissecting living creatures or capturing elemental spirits and forcefully feeding them to monsters, which is actually the method he used to create the giant crab killed by Tomoe and the wind mantis that Mio annihilated from the anime. In any case, Shiki would continue living in isolation, focusing on his research, but at some point in time, he somehow ended up inside the Tinarak forest and possessed the forest ogre known as Mondo, which eventually led to his fateful encounter with Makoto Misumi, someone who he found to be quite interesting because he seems to know or at least suspect that Makoto was a grant. So wanting to capture Makoto and learn everything he can about him, Shiki would confront Makoto in battle, but he was soon overwhelmed by Makoto's strength. Shiki was then captured and brought back to Asura, where he was able to learn the truth about grants from Tomoe, along with the impossibilities of actually becoming one, which completely shattered his worldview because it meant that all his efforts and sacrifices were essentially for nothing. Having lost his purpose in life, Shiki was given an alternate choice by Tomoe: use his vast magical knowledge and pledge himself to serve Makoto. However, due to being significantly weaker than Makoto, it was impossible to form a standard ruling contract with him, so to overcome this issue, Tomoe took Makoto's Draupnir rings and gave 13 over to Shiki, which allowed him to boost his overall mana supply just enough for the activation of the ritual, which is why the end result was a 100% contract, although Shiki still managed to retain all his autonomy and personality. So after the ruling contract, similar to Tomoe and Mio, Shiki was able to acquire a human form, and this was actually implied to be his original appearance before he became a Lich, and he was given a name as well, which comes from the Japanese character for knowledge and common sense, something that is lacking among Makoto's current subordinates. Regardless, because Shiki was able to regain his humanity, much of the darker tendencies that he once possessed as a Lich were now gone, developing a more affable and compassionate personality, and this was evident in the way he could now easily form connections with the residents of Asura and the human students of the Rockscar Academy. But I personally found his relationship with Tomoe and Mio to be the best indication of his newfound emotional growth. It's really wholesome the way they all behave like siblings, with Shiki being the younger brother of both girls. Now that we learn about his background for his role in the overall story, Shiki mainly serves as Makoto's personal instructor and assistant, using the extensive magical knowledge he has accumulated over his long life as a Lich to teach Makoto more advanced and complex magic, along with assisting him in the development of new magical techniques. Shiki also provides his expertise on other subjects like politics, military strategy, business, and history, so that Makoto can always make the most informed choices, especially when it comes to administration work or governance. Not only that, due to his past experiences as a human and Lich, Shiki is able to relate to humans on a deeper level as compared to Tomoe or Mio, which is why when Makoto was setting up the Kuzunoha company, Shiki was chosen to lead the project with him instead of either of the girls because his often calm and logical approach to problem solving makes him the least likely among Makoto's subordinates to become angered or emotional. This was even more evident when Shiki joined Makoto at the Ross Guard Academy, where he took a more lenient and gentle approach to balance out Makoto's harsh and strict teaching methods, showing that Shiki has a deep understanding of human emotions. That said, whenever Shiki isn't serving Makoto, he normally helps out in Asura by handling all the research and development work to hopefully either improve or create better facilities, infrastructure and technology, but apart from those, he isn't really involved much in the other operations of Asura. He was, however, more involved with the Kuzunoha company because he not only serves as the intellectual backbone of the business, responsible for the R&D similar to his role in Asura, but he manages a lot of the other operations within the company as well. To explain, he mainly helps to create and develop new or better products by combining his existing knowledge of the goddess's world with the other world knowledge he receives from Makoto, while also handling most of the recruiting process, employee training, and business dealings of the company. With that covered, we can now move on to his powers and abilities. For starters, let's talk about some of his existing capabilities because prior to his ruling contract with Makoto and even before he became a Lich, he was already considered to be a very talented spellcaster, able to cast spells without incantations and use ancient language, a form of lost magic that produces very powerful spells. As for his actual abilities, he has a strong affinity with earth and wind magic, although he is able to use other elements as well, but aside from those, he was highly proficient in support magic like healing, creating barriers, and providing physical or magical enhancements. Later, when he turns into a Lich, Shiki had acquired the traits that are inherently unique to the race, with the most notable being his immortality and regeneration capabilities, making it almost impossible to kill him, but even if his physical body has been destroyed, his spiritual form will continue to exist as something called a Lichni, and in this ethereal state, he is able to possess the body of living beings, corpses, or items. Also, as an undead, Shiki became immune to most status effects, even something like light or radiant energy that is otherwise harmful to most undead creatures have little effect on him, because Liches are considered to be high-level monsters. In addition to this, likely another attribute associated with being undead, Shiki will acquire a deathly miasma that is highly effective against living beings, and being a sorcerer as well, it meant that he now has access to dark magic such as necromancy, which allows him to summon and control undead creatures, manipulating life force to a certain extent. Nevertheless, in regards to his growth following his contract with Makoto, Shiki was able to acquire a body made of flesh, but unlike Tomoe and Mio, he can freely switch between his human and Lich form without any penalties. However, his physical strength has been reduced as a result of the new body, but thanks to his training with Makoto, Tomoe and Mio throughout the series, his endurance, strength, and speed have been greatly improved upon. And currently, as of Season 2, he is strong enough to even stand against a greater dragon like Lancer without issue. Furthermore, despite being a spellcaster and having a preference for ranged combat over close quarters, it doesn't mean that he is unfamiliar with the concept. In fact, he is quite proficient when it comes to melee weapons, with his magic staff and sword escalon being his signature equipment. More about them in a bit. But to continue, the most significant ability that Shiki possesses will be his 13 Steps, which is a magical system unique to him that was formed when the 13 Draupnir rings initially used to boost his powers during the ruling contract became fully integrated into him. To explain how the ability works, it's essentially a series of magical enhancements and abilities that Shiki can activate by converting the powers stored inside the Draupnir rings, with each providing a unique ability that can range from magic amplification to transformation to strengthening his durability or weakening an enemy. So the first step is called 1, Magic Empowerment, which like the name implies, amplifies his existing magical capabilities so that he can cast spells with greater accuracy and power. The second step is Sword Body Enhancement, which allows Shiki to strengthen all his physical attributes like speed, strength, and durability. In the third step, we have called Magic Power Enhancement, and it combines the effects of the previous 2 steps but with greater potency. The fourth step is called Coin Equipment Enhancement, and this will improve the effectiveness of Shiki's magical equipment. Keto Supplement Healing is the fifth step, which enhances his healing abilities, a perfect complement to his existing knowledge of healing magic. Next, the sixth step is known as Phrase Sword Emperor Spirit Possession, and this allows Shiki to channel the spirit of a legendary swordsman to gain the experiences and skills of the summoned being. This ability was actually one of the main reasons that Shiki was able to more effectively fight against Lancer and eventually defeating the Greater Dragon. Afterwards, we have the 7th step Hell, Mistempered Niflheim, but it's unknown what the actual effects are. The same goes for the 8th step, which is a bit more unique because it's a 3-phase ability that is called Ragnarok, 1st Chain Raging, 2nd Chain Mudsi, and 3rd Chain Glipnir. Gemini, Supplements and Fulfill Servant was in the 9th step. Again, we don't know the exact ability, but going on the name itself, it probably allows Shiki to create duplicates of himself. Following that, the 10th, 11th, and 12th step have not been fully revealed yet in the story, but for the 13th step, it's called Gogata, Archer of the Heavens, which is arguably his strongest ability, and judging from the name itself, it might be some type of devastating large-scale magical attack. Having explained that, we can now go over his equipment since he has a few notable ones that serve to complement his magical abilities and combat skills. Starting with his magic staff, he has 2 pieces that he uses depending on the form he is taking. In Shiki's human form, he uses a luxurious staff wrapped in silk-like fabric, which has 3 specific abilities. The first is the magic amplification effect, allowing him to channel his magic more efficiently and with greater power. Another is the ability to transform the staff into a golden knife or spear. And the last one is the ability to hide the status of his equipment. As for the other one is a black rod that is said to exude a menacing aura, and he mainly uses this in his Lich form. The rod itself can either transform into a giant scythe that is effective against undead and magical creatures, or into Escalon, the next equipment I want to mention. So Escalon is a massive claymore that Shiki had commissioned the Elder Dwarves to make, and it was specifically designed to be highly effective against greater dragons, in particular Lancer, who Shiki had desired to kill for the way he and Sophia Boga ambushed Makoto. That's why it was smeared with poison and malediction that is potent enough to even cripple a greater dragon. Also, Shiki can only bring out the claymore when he activates the 6th-step fray, as the spirit of the summoned swordsman is required for him to effectively and efficiently wield the weapon. On a side note, the Claymore Escalon was actually named after the mythical weapon used by Saint George to slay a dragon, and Shiki likely got the inspiration from Makoto's memories, but coincidentally, the same weapon can be found in High School DxD as well. Anyways, that's everything we know about Shiki so far, but how powerful is he? Well, even though Shiki is considered to be the weakest among Makoto's direct servants, he's still an extremely powerful mage. I mean, he did defeat Lancer, one of the greater dragons by himself, so he's easily among the top 10 strongest characters in the series. Also, we can't simply evaluate Shiki based on power alone, because his greatest strength is definitely his intelligence and knowledge, since without him, the Kuzunoha company probably would not have grown into the powerful entity it is today. Regardless, Shiki has proven that he is more than just a scholar. He's a true warrior as well, and as he continues to refine his abilities, he will surely become even stronger in the future.
私は術師驚くこともなかろう
But yeah, this has been my breakdown on Shiki's character, and I really like his growth throughout the series. Not to mention, his 13 steps are probably one of the most interesting magic systems I've seen so far in fantasy. Do you agree with me, and what do you think of Shiki? Let me know in the comments down below about your opinions on him and whether if I missed anything else. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe and hit that notification bell so you won't miss any of my future breakdowns. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.